Well, good evening, everybody. And most importantly, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule tonight to attend our webinar. My name is Jeff Sturman, and along with my wife, Ruth, we are the owners of Best Cruises and Tours and cruisestoalaska.com. And our co-host today is Randy Dixon, and Randy is one of our Alaska experts and our primary tour guide for our escorted Alaska cruise tours. So we're going to look forward to Randy joining us a little later in the presentation. So we'll see you soon, Randy.
Bye, Jeff. I'll see you soon.
Oh, it's quick. Okay. So a little bit of housekeeping. If you have a question as we're proceeding with our presentation, you can use the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window, type in the questions anytime. And at the end of the presentation, we'll go over as many as those we have time for. And also after the webinar, you will get an email from us tomorrow with links to everything I'm about to go over. It'll include detailed pricing, departure dates, details about our special offers, contact information, and more. So, to begin with, for those of you that don't know us that well, Best Cruises and Tours have been in business close to 30 years. We've sent over 110,000 of your friends and neighbors on vacations all over the world. We are one of the largest volume independent travel agencies in New Jersey. So, going backwards a little bit, I don't have to tell you how this recent pandemic has affected travel. Actually, vacation travel ceased from March 2020 for almost 2 years. Well, it's 2023 and people are traveling again, and 2024 looks to be one of our best years ever in the travel business. We have never been busier. This year, we've already had groups going up past the Arctic Circle in search of the Northern Lights. And in March, we had a nice sized group traveling to Japan, South Korea. And this year, over 300 guests traveled to Alaska this summer. As a matter of fact, I just came back from Alaska hosting a group of 47 guests about 30 days ago. So we all know that travel is an entitlement that we have earned. We worked all our lives to be able to travel, see new things, enjoy new experiences. So the good news is that travel is happening again with almost no restrictions. So we're attending tonight because we are interested in learning about Alaska as a travel destination. So there's like a disconnect between, okay, I want to see Alaska, it's on my bucket list. What's the best way to do it? There are so many choices. Where do I begin? Well, you can always try to do it yourself. You can go onto the internet and Google Cruises to Alaska. 2024, there'll be, I think, 40 different ships sailing in Alaska. You can call one of the cruise lines directly, speak to one of their hourly employees who may or not have ever been to Alaska. So if you want to do this yourself, you can. But if you want to make your Alaska trip a lifetime experience, you are in the right place tonight. So I'm going to talk about Alaska tonight. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Best Cruises and Tours, who we are, and we're going to talk about Princess Cruises and their Alaska program. Princess is our preferred supplier for Alaska. We'll go over some special offers, and hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A. By the end of this webinar, I will guarantee you will have a better understanding of Alaska as a vacation destination. So interest in Alaska has been growing and growing over the last decade. The number of Alaska visitors has approached 2 million people annually prior to the pandemic. Well on its way to reaching those numbers again. So why do you think that travel to Alaska continues to increase? There's a lot of reasons, but to me, there are two really important ones. One, there is a worry about climate change affecting the landscape of Alaska. Many of the glaciers are receding noticeably, and there are reports of the permafrost being affected The second reason is we have been watching attempts to open previously protected areas for oil drilling and mining. Now, Alaska is a truly extraordinary place with its spectacular natural wonders, its open spaces, its magnificent wilderness, and people want to see Alaska before those factors affect the spectacular landscape and wildlife. So, little history lesson about Alaska. It was basically unexplored when Secretary of State William Seward arranged for its purchase from Russia in 1867 for $7.2 million. That was 2 cents an acre. And at the time, it was considered one of the worst real estate deals ever made. The purchase was widely ridiculed as Seward's folly. Well, here's the update on Seward's folly. Since the Alaska gold rush of 1880, almost $3 billion worth of gold has been mined. And in 1968, a large oil and natural gas reservoir up on the Arctic coast near Prudhoe Bay was discovered with estimated recoverable 10 billion barrels of oil and 27 trillion cubic feet of gas. So I guess at 2 cents an acre, Alaska turned out to be a pretty good investment. Alaska is a land where animals outnumber people and nature is truly in charge. You will see pristine landscapes, majestic wildlife, scenic national parks, and fortress-like glaciers. And Alaska is big. You could fit Texas into Alaska twice. It's 1,400 miles north to south and 2,400 miles east to west, about 1/5 the size of the continental United States. And Alaska has the most and largest glaciers on Earth, 3 million lakes, 3,000 rivers, 70 volcanoes, and it is the home of North America's highest mountain peak, right behind me, Denali, at over 20,300 feet, and 19 of the 20 highest mountains in the U.S. are located in Alaska. And of course, Denali is in Denali National Park and Preserve, which covers more than 6 million acres, the size of the state of Massachusetts. Alaska has more wilderness than all the other 49 states combined. And of course, one of the most thrilling aspects of a visit to Alaska is the opportunity of observing the abundant wildlife in their natural habitats. Alaska is home of the longest sheltered waterway on Earth. It's called the Inside Passage. And during the summer months, more than 2,000 humpback whales will feed in the waters off Alaska. And equally abundant are killer whales, belugas, dolphins, sea lions, seals, sea otters, and an incredible diversity of birds. Alaska has the largest concentration of bears, bald eagles, salmon, and moose in the world. As a matter of fact, about 2,000 moose live within the Anchorage city limits, and there are more caribou than people in Alaska. And Alaska is steeped in Native American culture. There are actually 11 major Native cultural groups, lived there for over 30,000 years, and Native Americans make up about 15% of the population of Alaska, and many of their traditions have survived and are still an important part of today's Alaskan culture. And of course, Alaska has tremendous political significance for all of us, being the major source of oil and natural gas in the US. So the population of the state of Alaska is just under 725,000. Population of New Jersey, where we are now, is 9 million. So we could fit 75 New Jerseys in the state of Alaska, and you are looking at what a traffic jam in Alaska looks like. So I gave you some quick facts on Alaska. Now I'd like to give you some quick facts about who we are, Best Cruises and Tours. So as I mentioned before, we are a family-owned travel agency. We've been in business 30 years. We've evolved to be one of the larger volume, independently owned travel agencies in the Northeast. By the year's end, we will have sent 110,000 guests on cruises and cruise tours to itineraries all over the world, from Antarctica to Europe to the Orient to Africa to the Caribbean, Hawaii, Australia, Tahiti, China, Japan, Bermuda, and of course, Alaska. We are members of the Better Business Bureau. We're rated A+, and we enjoy top producer status with most of the major cruise lines and travel suppliers. But our most important endorsements come from our thousands of satisfied clients. Our number one source of new business is repeat clients and their referrals, and we are successful because of our dedicated commitment to service. We have two rules we live by. We treat our clients' vacation as if they were our own, and we do not permit surprises unless they're good ones. So when we started our business in the early 90s, Alaska had always intrigued me as a destination. There was just something about it. I made my first trip in 1995. I was so impressed that we began booking vacations to Alaska immediately, and our business has been growing ever since. We developed an Alaska brand called cruisestoalaska.com, and we now hold the distinction of being one of the largest Alaska travel suppliers on the East Coast. To date, our agency has successfully sent just about 15,000 clients on memorable vacations to Alaska. We're members of the ATIA, the Alaska Tourism Industry Association, and the Anchorage Convention and Visitors Board, and all of our advisors have been to Alaska, can offer insight based on firsthand experience. I personally have made close to 40 trips to Alaska. I am a certified Alaska expert with the Alaska State Travel Industry Association. Our co-host, Randy, who you met earlier, has been escorting Alaska tours for over 10 years. So in case you haven't figured this out, Alaska is my favorite place in the whole world. So we know a little bit about Alaska and a little bit about Best Cruises, and now I will tell you a little bit about our partners for this event and our preferred supplier for Alaska, which is Princess Cruises. This coming season, 2024, marks the 55th anniversary for Princess Cruises sailing in Alaska. They have 7 ships scheduled to depart from 4 convenient home ports, including San Francisco, Seattle, Vancouver, and Anchorage. They feature multiple cruise itineraries, over 70 departure dates, and over 20 different cruise tour itineraries. Now, our company does business with all the major suppliers, but the most important reason that we are talking about Princess in Alaska is we have found they provide the highest levels of satisfaction and offer the best all-around seamless experience in Alaska. They built and operate their own purpose-built lodges. They have 5 of them, and own and operate some of the highest rated luxury rail cars in the industry, as well their own fleet of deluxe motor coaches. So this ensures a seamless experience between the cruise, the transportation, whether it's the coach or the rail cars, and the lodges. As a matter of fact, Princess regularly has approximately 1,800 employees just devoted to the Alaska product. And all the Princess tours feature the 2 highest rated destinations in Alaska, Denali National Park and Glacier Bay National Park, on every single cruise tour itinerary. So the Princess ships feature onboard naturalists, U.S. park rangers that do daily enrichment programs, and on the land, Princess features Alaskan guides who are available every step of the way to enhance your Alaskan experience. Princess even formed a partnership with the Discovery Channel and Animal Planet, and they have created proprietary excursions exclusively for Princess guests. Now, our relationship with Princess goes back just about 30 years, and we have evolved to be one of their top Alaska cruise tour producers. So this past winter, we began working on our 2024 Alaska program. We review the extensive Princess Alaska product offerings, and based on our experience and our expertise, we select what we feel are the most important cruises and cruise tours. We then customize them where necessary, block space, negotiate special rates, so we're able to offer our clients the best selection of Alaska cruises and tours at the lowest possible prices. So let's start to take a look at some of the Alaska vacation options. The simplest Alaska vacation is a 7-day round-trip cruise from Seattle. This is an excellent choice for those clients that only have a limited amount of time, want to experience Alaska on a terrific cruise ship with a great itinerary, and using Seattle as an arrival and departure port, it's the most convenient Alaska option as far as air arrangements go. So this 7-night cruise will start in Seattle. It'll cruise through the Inside Passage, make disembarkation and sightseeing stops in the Southeast Alaska towns of Juneau, Skagway, Ketchikan, Icy Strait Point, do a day of cruising through Glacier Bay National Park, make a stop in Victoria, British Columbia, and return to Seattle. I'll get into a little more detail about the stops a little later. So you'll notice there are some specials listed. We'll once again explain a little bit more about that later. So there are other Alaska cruises that Princess offers as well. They have a 7-day Inside Passage cruise from Vancouver and an 11-day Inside Passage cruise round trip San Francisco. However, the cruise that will see the most of Alaska is called the 7-day Voyage of the Glaciers cruise. So this cruise sails for 7 days between Vancouver and Anchorage and will cruise for 1,325 miles in one direction, either northbound from Vancouver to Anchorage or southbound from Anchorage to Vancouver. And this cruise always includes 2 spectacular days of glacier cruising, including Glacier Bay National Park, on every sailing, as well as disembarkation stops in those scenic Alaska towns, Skagway, Juneau, Ketchikan, Icy Strait Point, and also includes a day of cruising through the Inside Passage as well. So the absolutely best way to see Alaska is when we combine this Voyage of the Glaciers 7-day cruise that goes 1,325 miles along the coast of Alaska with days of land travel through the Alaska interior. And this is what we call a cruise tour. This is where you really get to experience the glaciers, the mountains, the wildlife, and the natural history that makes Alaska such a unique itinerary. So as I became more knowledgeable about Alaska, I developed a good idea of what I wanted our clients to experience on their Alaska vacation. And when I researched what the different cruise lines and tour operators were offering, I never could find the perfect itinerary from their standard offerings. In other words, there were specific places and things I wanted our guests to experience on their Alaska vacation, obviously within a reasonable time frame. So I researched and even experienced the different cruise tour itineraries from all the Alaska suppliers that included Royal Caribbean, included Celebrity, included Holland America, included Norwegian. It even included Princess and some independent tour operators. And I could not find what I felt was the perfect itinerary. Princess actually came the closest. So 19 years ago, I asked Princess if they would allow me to design a custom tour itinerary that would visit all the most important points of interest. This way we would get the best of both worlds. We would have the benefit of the wonderful Princess Alaskan expertise and infrastructure, but with a private itinerary that would make sure we hit the most must-see Alaska attractions, and it would be designed exclusively for us at Best Cruises and Tours. Well, they agreed. And what we actually did was take the best of the, upgraded them, added exclusive amenities enhancement, and made them a little more guest friendly. We set aside space on the ships, the trains, the lodges, and created this cruise tour that actually is a custom Princess Cruise tour that is unavailable to anybody but Best Cruise clients. 2024 will be the 18th year we're running this exclusive tour. We do it 3 times a season. So this is called our 14-day Heart of Alaska custom cruise tour. We're going to walk you through this so you can get an idea of all the important points of interest in your Alaska vacation. So to give you an idea of what you should expect on this Alaska vacation, let's welcome back Randy, who is our senior tour leader and Alaska expert, to walk you through at least the land portion of our 14-day Heart of Alaska cruise tour. Okay, Rand.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Hi, everybody. Hope you're finding our presentation interesting. As Jeff said, my name is Randy Dixon. I am the COO of Best Cruises. I've been working with the company for 26 years. I spent a lot of time putting the logistics together for these amazing Alaska adventures, and I've had the privilege of escorting this tour for more than 10 years. I'm going to take a little time with you guys, and I'm sort of going to take you through a virtual journey of the land portion of this amazing adventure. So our tour that we do is considered a southbound tour. And what that means is we start in the most northern point, which is Fairbanks, and we continue south touring on the land for 6 nights, approximately 400 plus miles, and then sail from Whittier all the way to Vancouver on the 7-night voyage of the Glacier's cruise. So you will be covering about 1,700 miles via land and sea. Little information for you guys on Fairbanks. Fairbanks is Alaska's 2nd largest city. Population of about 32,000. It's located 188 miles from the Arctic Circle, so it experiences some of the wildest temperature swings in the world. I have personally been in Fairbanks in July when it has been close to 90 degrees, shorts and t-shirt weather, and in the winter months, it can actually go down as low as negative 50 degrees. Fairbanks has very long summer days. When we go in June, there are approximately 21 hours of daylight. This past year, I was there in June. I was outside about 2 o'clock in the morning taking some pictures, and it basically looked like the sun was about to set. It looked a little dusky, and that kind of dusk hangs around for about 3 hours, and then the sun comes up again. So when you arrive in Fairbanks, in the airport, you will be met by the Princess staff, and they will be transferring you over to the Princess Riverside Lodge for the first of our 2 overnights there. It's a great property. It's ideally located right on the banks of the Chena River with an amazing deck sitting right out on the river so that you can have some drinks and enjoy the views. And it's about 1.5 miles from the airport, so it's an easy transfer over after traveling to Fairbanks. On our first morning, we have our first included breakfast. And then we're going to go visit Gold Dredge number 8, which is a National Historic District, which offers a unique tour of Alaska mining history. And you get the opportunity to do some panning for gold. I know those people in that picture. I believe I see Jeff there. We then head over to Riverboat Landing for lunch and our afternoon cruise on the Riverboat Discovery, which is an authentic stern wheeler. On the cruise, you will visit the home and kennels of Susan Butcher. She is the late 4-time Iditarod winner, and you get to see her champion sled dogs in action. You'll be immersed in ancient Athabascan culture when our native Alaska guides take us on a personalized tour of the Chena Village. We'll then arrive back at our lodge in Fairbanks in time for our first included tour dinner. We then have our second overnight in Fairbanks, and the following morning, after our included tour breakfast, we board our coaches for our trip to Denali. We arrive at the Denali Princess Lodge usually around noon that day. The Denali Lodge overlooks Denali National Park and the Nenana River. It's located just 1 mile from the entrance to the park, and it is a perfect launch point for our Denali experience. That afternoon, we have lots of free time for optional activities. There's a terrific area. This is a terrific area for some of the active options, such as whitewater rafting, hiking, flight seeing. You can also take a complimentary shuttle to the Denali National Park Visitor Center. You can learn more about the park by interacting with the park rangers, as well as exploring an exciting exhibit area. You may also get to go over and see the sled dogs, and they do a presentation usually with the puppies a couple times a day. That evening, we have an included dinner at the Denali Lodge's fine dining venue. And on the following morning, we get to do our exploring deep into Denali National Park and Preserve. This happens to be a huge highlight for me of the tour, personally. Denali National Park and Preserve encompasses an amazing 6 million acres of subarctic wilderness. It's the size of the state of Connecticut. It's the home to Denali, North America's highest peak, soaring an unbelievable 20,320 feet into the sky. Absolutely amazing. There's one road from the entrance of the park to its termination 90 miles away. The park hosts a wonderful array of wildlife. The Denali Big Five: bears, caribou, moose, gray wolves, and Dall sheep. The scenery is absolutely spectacular. The trip could really wind up being one of the highlights for you on your Alaska adventure as well. Most Alaska tours include a 4.5 hour natural history tour that goes only about 17 miles into the park. Our tour features a 6-hour tundra wildlife search that goes 43 miles into the park, which actually is as far as you can go into the park safely. The road is unpaved, and the tour is guided by a knowledgeable driver guide who is a trained interpretive naturalist. When he is able, he or she will take video footage of animals along park roads and project those images onto drop-down video screens featured only on our specialty design tour buses. This way you guys can get a close-up look at the roadside action, although sometimes you can get a very close-up look at the roadside action without the video camera because the animals are right around the buses in front, on the side, so you can get some great animal viewing. During the trip, there are multiple stops with scenic overlooks and clean restrooms. All along the way, we have the opportunity, if the weather cooperates, to see Denali, the mountain. Unfortunately, we don't always get to see it in its full glory because the mountain makes its own weather. But if we miss seeing it, we do have additional opportunities along the way. We've designed this tour for that specific purpose. So we're going to get back to the lodge after our Denali adventure, and we're going to head on out to the Mount McKinley Wilderness Lodge. We arrive in time for dinner, which is another fine dining experience at the premier restaurant on the premises. We overnight at the McKinley Princess Lodge. That's our fourth night, which is the closest lodge to the mountain. It's approximately 45 miles from the base of the mountain. So if we didn't get to see the mountain because of weather or cloud cover in Denali, here at the McKinley Lodge, we have another opportunity. The McKinley Princess Lodge borders on the south side of Denali National Park on the banks of the Chulitna River, and it is a true wilderness retreat. In the main lodge, there is a huge stone fireplace, enormous floor-to-ceiling windows that look out upon majestic Denali and the entire Alaska range, with one of the most inspirational views of the mountain found anywhere, weather permitting. I will tell you that when I was in Alaska this year, when I was there in June and July, we were having dinner in the restaurant in the lodge, and they have floor-to-ceiling windows, and the mountain had been a little cloud covered, and I looked outside and I saw the entire Alaska range out, including Denali. I went around to everybody's tables and everybody was snapping pictures. It was absolutely stunning, absolutely stunning. So it's a great opportunity to see the mountain if we don't get to see it in the park. This lodge also features U.S. National Park Ranger presentations, mountain climber talks, plus a variety of other optional, exciting outdoor adventures. We, after our overnight at the McKinley Lodge, we head to the town of Talkeetna, to the rail station, to board the train and head for Anchorage. I just would like to let you guys know that Talkeetna is it's one of my favorite spots on this trip as well. It is a quintessential Alaska town. It's where the climbers come in to sign up to climb Denali. It's where the people that live out in the bush come in to take showers. Yes, that's a real thing. There are some great little unique restaurants there, and there are some great little shops there. So I always tell people to try to get in a little bit early so that they can explore the town, because it's definitely worth spending a couple hours in Talkeetna. And then we're going to board our train, and we're going to be on the absolutely beautiful Ultra Dome car, which allows for unobstructed views of Alaska's spectacular scenery. The train ride also features tableside beverage service and natural history narratives from the car managers. And each car has an open air viewing platform, which allows you to step outside. You can take some great pictures out there, get a breath of fresh air. Also might spot some moose out there. We do have a tendency to see moose when we're on the train, and we're on that train for approximately 3 hours. We arrive in Anchorage about 5:30 in the evening, and we transfer to our hotel, the beautiful Captain Cook, which is the highest rated hotel in Alaska. Anchorage is actually Alaska's largest city. And one of the first things you're going to notice is that Anchorage is completely surrounded by the majestic Chugach Mountains. That night, we have a wonderful tour dinner at the hotel. The next morning, our tour takes us to the Native Heritage Center, where we learn about Alaska Native traditions and tour life-size Native village sites, explore Native art, and experience Native dancing and storytelling. This is also a great opportunity to get some real, authentic Native gifts for yourself or to bring home. There is a lot of Native artists here that sell some really great, unique items. And I usually end up buying something myself there. After we get back from the Native Heritage Center, we're going to cut you guys loose to enjoy some time in Anchorage on your own. You can visit the world-class Anchorage Museum that features the Smithsonian Arctic Studies Center. You can experience Ship Creek, which is a salmon run that actually runs in the heart of the city. You can take a walk or bike ride on the Tony Knowles Coastal Trail. It's an 11-mile stretch that starts in downtown Anchorage and ends in Kincaid Park. And it is a prime moose viewing spot with spectacular panoramic views all along the way. That evening, we're going to reconvene for a special farewell dinner at my favorite restaurant, the Glacier Brew House, and we're going to spend our second and final night in Anchorage. And this completes our 6-night land tour. In the late morning on day 7, you guys are going to head for the ship. I'm going to get you on the buses, and you guys are going to head towards Whittier, which is the deep water port for Anchorage. It's a super scenic 2-hour drive down Turnagain Arm and past Portage Glacier. You're going to board the ship in time for lunch, have a chance to explore a little bit, and after dinner, the ship will depart. So I'm going to turn the presentation back over to Jeff so he can review the 7-day cruise portion of our 14-day custom cruise tour for you. And I'll see everybody later.
Yeah, Rand, so just to go backwards a little bit, as you said, Talkeetna is such a special place. So Talkeetna had a mayoral issue where they could not, the candidates that were running for mayor, the local populace felt they were horrible. So instead they elected a cat as the mayor of Talkeetna, Stubbs the cat. And Stubbs the cat was reelected for 17 years.
Yes, he was.
Stubbs passed away, about 3 years ago?
Yes.
But I'm just to digress, to give you a little idea of the town of Talkeetna. of what it's all about. Okay,
Yes,
anyway.
but then they had Denali the cat as the next mayor, Jeff. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. And unfortunately, Denali met a unfortunate early death, and they now have Aurora the cat as their mayor. So they're continuing the tradition in Talkeetna.
Okay. Okay, well, we've arrived at our ship in Whittier, and we got there in time for lunch, because you'll leave Anchorage at about 11 o'clock, and then we'll arrive around 1-ish at our ship. We'll go through the Anton Anderson and Memorial Tunnel. Spectacular ride from downtown Anchorage to the ship in Whittier. So we'll have our lunch on the ship, we'll have our dinner on the ship, and the ship will leave that evening. During the first full day of sea, you will visit Hubbard Glacier. Now, Hubbard Glacier is located in Yakutat Bay. It is a 76-mile-long glacier from its source in Canada's Yukon Territory. It is the longest tidewater glacier in Alaska, and it has an open calving face of over 6 miles. The ship will get as close as is safe, and the onboard naturalist will explain the amazing surroundings. The second day you're on the ship, you will enter Glacier Bay National Park. And Glacier Bay National Park is an environmentally sensitive area. So the National Park Service only allows 2 of these large ships a day into Glacier Bay National Park. Princess is one of the few cruise lines that has these permits to get in. Glacier Bay is 3.3 million acres, more actively calving tidewater glaciers than anywhere else in the world. And the U.S. Park Rangers will come aboard. They'll narrate the transit through the waters. They'll do enrichment lectures in the theater. They'll set up a national parks area so they can interact with the guests. The ship will head to the end of Glacier Bay, where there is the Grand Pacific and Marjorie glaciers, and the ship will linger for a full hour and make 360s, hoping that we'll get a chance to see these glaciers calving. Marjorie Glacier is 1 mile wide, 25 stories high, and is one of Alaska's most active glaciers. This day, along with your trip into Denali National Park, could be one of the super highlights of your trip. So our first disembarkation stop after our 2 spectacular days of glacier cruising is Skagway. And Skagway retains the flavor of the gold rush of the late 1800s. It's preserved as a National Historic Park, features one of the oldest narrow gauge railroads in the country. It was the gateway to the Klondike for the Stampeders in the late 1890s, and in its heyday, this rough and tumble frontier town had more than 80 bars. Today, it's a recreated gold rush town, rustic boardwalks, frontier-style storefronts, a great stop. Our next day is in Juneau, and Juneau is the state capital and Southeast Alaska's largest town. It was founded as a gold mining camp in 1880, built into the side of the mountain with a spectacular view of Mount Juneau. It is the most isolated state capital of the United States. It's only accessible by plane or by boat, and there is a glacier in the Juneau city limits. It's 13 miles from the city center. It's called Mendenhall Glacier. It's about 12 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. You can see the glacier on a float trip. You could do a flight seeing adventure. You could hike up one of its trails for a closer inspection, or you could take a coach to the visitor center. And the Mendenhall Visitor Center is filled with photos and information. And one of the more spectacular excursions is a helicopter flight over the Juneau ice field, which is larger than the state of Rhode Island. And in Juneau, we find also some of our best opportunities for whale watching as well. Our next stop is in Ketchikan, is set amidst the largest national forest in the United States, called the Tongass National Forest. It stretches more than 500 miles along Southeast Alaska's Inside Passage. It's a temperate rainforest, as opposed to what we know as tropical rainforests. And Ketchikan was originally a Tlingit fishing camp and boasts one of the world's largest collection of totem poles. So we continue then through the Inside Passage, and we finish our cruise in Vancouver, British Columbia. So that is our Best Cruises 14-day Heart of Alaska Custom Cruise Tour. It includes 6 nights on the land and 7 nights on the cruise. And there are 3 departure dates for this tour, one in late May, one in July, and one in August. And actually prices range from about $3,000 per person based on double occupancy for our most reasonable staterooms in the May departure, and escalates from there. If you decide to take this tour, you will have a Best Cruises Alaska specialist that will escort the land program. It probably will be Rand, or it could be me. And of course, not everyone can go away for 14 days. Princess also offers some shorter cruise tours. Our favorite includes an 11-night cruise and land package that features 4 nights on the land and 7 nights on the cruise. And this option is great for folks that don't have a full 2 weeks. And as this trip is shorter and with less inclusions, it does tend to cost less. And there are other packages and itineraries that are available for any special interest in Alaska. And if we haven't touched on your special interest, then you need to contact us. We are the Alaska experts. So to recap our special offerings for the 2024 Alaska season, we have discussed a 14-day custom Alaska cruise tour that sees it all. 6 nights on land with 9 meals included, a custom itinerary not available anywhere else, with an escort and tour guide on the land, plus that fabulous 7-night Voyage of the Glaciers cruise. We talked about an 11-night cruise and land package, 7-night Voyage of the Glaciers cruise, and 4 nights on land, featuring Denali National Park and Fairbanks. And we also addressed a 7-night cruise round trip from Seattle. So we conduct these webinars to give you guys the opportunity to learn about the different options, pick a trip that's most suitable, and get organized with the best available prices and amenities and choice of staterooms. I'm going to tell you that Alaska 2024 has been booking extremely well. Space is disappearing as we speak. If you are interested in going to Alaska in 2024, now is the time to get organized. You will be receiving a link tomorrow to go directly to our Cruises to Alaska website to review the details and the pricing. All the prices for the Alaska departures are listed on our website. Those prices reflect Princess standard pricing. In addition, Princess has 2 amenity packages that are available for purchase other than the Princess standard. They have what's called Princess Plus and Princess Premier. Just real briefly, the Princess Plus gives you a plus beverage package, which is 15 beverages per person per day, up to $15 each. That's including alcohol. 1 device per guest, free Wi-Fi, free prepaid gratuities, and that's like $17 per person per day. They have some other stuff, premium desserts, fitness classes, etc., etc. It's all listed. The price for that is $420 per person for the week. They also have a program called Princess Premier, which gives you beverages up to $20 each, 4 devices of Wi-Fi, 2 specialty dining, a bunch of more amenities. That's actually Princess Premier price, $560 per person. You can discuss the details with one of our experts, exactly what's included with that. So we also have some webinar show specials. The pricing is going to be on the website. The deposit for any trip for Alaska this year is a fully refundable reduced deposit of $100 per person. What that means is that up until the final payment of 90 days before departure, for $100 per person, will hold your spot. And as I mentioned, it's fully refundable up to 90 days before departure when final payment is due. We also have 2 coupon books for onboard savings up to $300 per person. And for our July departure, we will have $100 per couple cruise tour cash to be spent on your land program. So these are some special offers for our Cruise Fest participants that make their Alaska bookings on or before September 25th. That also includes any referrals that are attached to you as cruise tour participants. Cutoff date for the show specials, September 25th. So tonight we heard about Alaska, we heard about Princess, we heard about Best Cruises and Tours. Reminder, we'll be sending each of you an email with links to all of this information, include detailed pricing, preferred sailing dates, for everything went over and more. We'll get that tomorrow. And here is our contact information. Feel free to reach out by phone or by email, or you can visit us on our web at cruises2alaska.com. We will connect you to one of our Alaska experts that can answer all of your questions and help you get your Alaska trip organized. So, reminder, reserve your space, requires just $100 per person deposit, fully refundable up to 90 days before your departure in 2022. And it does look like we have some time for questions and answers. So let me take a look. Randy, are you with me? Yes, you are.
I am.
Okay. I am trying to take a look here.
You have a question that says, is the trip handicap accessible?
Yes, we can. Yes, it depends on, the answer to that is yes. You would need to call. Hi, Ann, how are you? You would need to give us a call and we can explain to you. So as far as the lodges go, we can make sure that you're on the ground level. As there is the answer
There's
to that,
handicapped accessible cabins on the ship.
yes.
There's handicapped rooms in the lodges, but it would be a better option to have a discussion about the particulars.
Yes, absolutely. So you can give us a call in. Port or starboard. Okay, so actually, it is a big fallacy. So the ship is traveling southbound. So if you were going to be traveling southbound down the coast of California, you would want to make sure you're on the port side or the left side of the ship. When you're doing this cruise, as I mentioned, 95% of the time you're in enclosed waterways, and there is on both sides of the ship spectacular things to see. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I like the starboard side because the ship is pulling into port, and like from Juneau, for example, so you take a look outside, and there you're on the port side, so you can see the tour buses and the traffic jam in the city, and the other side, you're watching the fish jumping out of the water and the float planes taking off. So I don't think it matters port or starboard. A suite accommodate cruise suite 3 persons, and for how much? Mike, you're going to have to give a call. A mini suite comfortably, you don't need a whole suite. A mini suite will comfortably accommodate 3 adults. And with one area private, you can give a call tomorrow and go over the actual layout of the room. How many people be on the ship? I think we're talking, is it
2,800, 3,200?
28 100. It's not one of these monster ships, but it's a good sized ship. We're talking about the Sapphire Princess. So I have to apologize. It's either 2,800 or 3,200 people on this ship. Cruise from San Francisco. You need to give us a call. That's an 11-night cruise that goes round trip from San Francisco, and it's an excellent option. You can't attach land to that, but it's an excellent option. Some of our guests have a family on the West Coast, and so you'll give a call and we can get you those dates and prices. How many people can do each land tour? We limit every bus to 40 people. On some of the trips, we have 2 buses, but 40 people per bus. Single accommodation.
And we never do more than 2 buses, Jeff,
Yeah,
also.
right. And single accommodations, you have to call, and we can work out the best a single supplement that we possibly can. I can't just give you shoot an answer to you that way. There's also, let's see, weather. Okay, so I would say that your Alaska weather, let me, hang on a second. Alaska weather is the great unknown. So so, Randy, when you were there in May, what was your weather?
This year in May, it was a lot cooler than it normally is in May. Normally when I go in the end of May, beginning of June, I actually have really nice weather, 65, 70 degrees. This year it was a little bit cooler in the beginning of May. When I was there in July, it was absolutely beautiful. As we know, weather is kind of crazy everywhere, right? So we just don't know. I always tell people with Alaska, it's casual, bring your layers, bring something for rain. The weather in Alaska, if you don't like it, wait 5 minutes because it changes all the time. And I'm a big layer person. I'll wear a t-shirt and a sweatshirt, and then I can take the sweatshirt off as it gets warmer. And remember, we're talking about 21 hours of daylight. So you could be sitting on the back deck of that the back deck of the lodge in Fairbanks getting a suntan. I'm not even joking, at 11 o'clock at night. So weather can be, it's very difficult to predict the weather because
I would say, I would
different.
probably say that that probably your average weather
Yeah.
is 60s and 70s, can go down in the 50s, and there's a couple of days it's going to be cooler. In other words, when you on your ship and you get in front of a 250-foot wall of ice, you're going to need a hat and gloves and
But I was there in a bathing suit one year.
also, when you go onto your Denali trip, we get you guys up early. The animals don't sleep in, so it's a little nippy then. So I would say you're looking at 60s, 70s, and creeping down to the 50s, and a couple of experiences where it could get cooler. So I see this as is dining on the ship formal. They do continue to have 2 what they call dressy nights, and dressy in Alaska is, I would say, if you wanted to, you can have your husband bring a sport jacket. You'll see a few nutcases in tuxedos on the ship, but very
it's not normal.
That's not. Okay.
Do any of the cruises have a lot fewer people? Yes. Yes, there are cruise lines that specialize in small ship cruising to Alaska. Absolutely, that's something that we can help you with if that's an area of interest. So you can give us a call and we can talk about all those options. And yes, there are a lot of suppliers that do have much smaller ships.
Correct. Okay. I think that's about it as far as the questions goes. I think, let me double check.
Oh, you talked about bobsled dogs. Do you go on a bobsled ride along with meeting the dogs in Denali? So we talk about meeting the dogs. no, you wouldn't go on a ride in Denali. I was talking about at the visitor center, they have a program where it's once or twice a day, and you can actually go to where the kennels are, where the dogs are. They usually will introduce you to the puppies. They'll talk about how they patrol the park with the dogs, just kind of give you a history of the dog mushing and all that stuff. You cannot do a sled ride there, meeting the dogs. However,
Where you can do a sled ride is, remember, you have to, there has to be snow
right.
for you to, and in the summer, there's not snow, but there is an excursions where you could take an excursion. Like, for example, in Juneau, you could take a helicopter, it'll take you onto the glacier, and then you could do a actual sled dog
Yes.
ride on the ice. They do also have where you can go to the summer camps of the sled dogs, where they train the dogs on
ATVs.
yes, it's like they'll take you on a ride, but it won't be through the snow. It'll be in a what am I, how do I describe that?
Like I don't know how to describe it, but it's with an ATV. That's how they train them. With They don't have engines in them, and that's how they train them. So you can also do that. But if you really want an authentic sled dog ride, you would do what Jeff said and take that excursion onto the glacier, and you would be able to actually um go on a sled dog ride on the ice.
Okay, all right, guys, we're getting to the point where we're going to need to knock off. And I just wanted to finally thank you very much for attending this webinar. We hope it was informative. We hope you learned a little bit about Alaska. We suggest you give us a call, and we will connect you to one of our Alaska experts. And I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your evening.
Yep, and I hope to see you guys in Fairbanks in 2024.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Take care.